What is up, y'all? Okay, so today I originally had so many things planned out to talk about, then I kind of just had to stop. But before we get into this video, it's girl Alicia. If you are new here, welcome. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the link in the bio to join your wellness club. Let's get into it. So originally today I wanted to discuss different factors about having a bad relationship with food. I had to pause on that though because I started to find myself in a space of creative block. And sometimes what I do when trying to get out of that block, I start going into different avenues. Most of the time it's social media to get inspired. I'm coming to learn that I don't get inspired by social media. And I'm going to pause there. I I don't. I don't get inspired by social media. I get anxious by social media. I become too much in my head by social media. And when I say social media, I mainly mean Instagram. Last year, I think I talked about this the other week, took some time off of Instagram because I just couldn't really do it anymore. The overkeep of constantly striving to make videos to sell uh, my business to God knows who. And that is okay. I understand the tool of what Instagram is, but I also realized that it just wasn't for me. And then coming back to it this year, or a little bit into last year, like end of the year, December, I started finding myself going back into old habits again. And I discussed this in the last blog on your wellness club called Every Day is a Victory. Check it out. I actually really, really liked that blog. I liked that blog. Every Day is a Victory. But I discussed that I started to find myself going back into old old ways of comparing myself to somebody that I didn't know and questioning my purpose, questioning my creative ideas, questioning just everything that I was doing, even my business. And my business is thriving and I'm doing really well with what I do with my clients as a nutritionist, and I love it. I just came to realize that there are certain things that are for you and there are certain things that are not for you. And I'm starting to become okay with that. I found myself in new patterns in terms of continuing to do the things that allow me to have better days than me having a day that I feel like I didn't do anything in. I do love productivity. I find myself when I'm not having a productive day, it goes from a great peak to downhill, which can have a really bad effect on me. Last week, it had a chokehold on me, and it was just crazy to think, or just crazy to see how I was spiraling. I felt like I was having an outer body experience. I don't know if you've had that before, or if you felt like everything around you was just happening and you were just watching it happen. That's what I felt like last week. And I couldn't take it mentally that everything around me was just creating a feeling of anxiety, creating a feeling of just being anxious. I'm going to see if I could pull it up. Because I wasn't thinking I was going to talk about any of this today in our Saturday chat, but here we are. It's okay to pivot because sometimes what it is that you truly need to talk about, or what it is that you think you need to talk about is not what you need to talk about, but is what's feeling inside here. And that's where I'm at today. What I'm feeling right now is what I need to talk about, and we're just gonna let it roll. So last week, I let's see. Oh my god, if you guys know Mel Robbins, Mel Robbins is my girl. Like, she is the girl, the woman, not girl. She is a grown ass woman. But I love her podcast. And I randomly last week decided to listen to, I just popped up a podcast and I was like, let me go to Mel Robbins because I love the way she just speaks to you. It's like when you're sitting down and you're listening to her podcast, you feel like you are in the room with her as if it's just you and her and she's just speaking to you. And I just thrive in that. I love when I have like, she's my mentor and she doesn't even know that she's my mentor. But let's like put it out there in the world that I'm going to meet her one day and I'm going to get to say these words to her. You are my mentor. You didn't know this, but for years on end, I'd listened to your podcast. I'd taken everything that you said and wrote them down and put them towards each day and put actions behind every word that you said. And you helped me get to where I am today. So last week I was listening to a podcast and I think I still have it on pause because I finished it. I cried my eyes out, you guys. I was listening to this and I was just like, damn, this is exactly what I needed. And I find myself when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, that is my calm space. That is a place that I just love to be because that is where my creativity comes from. My creativity does not come from looking at a screen and scrolling. Let's be real. Nobody's creativity comes from that. And if it does, tell me how you do it. But I know it doesn't work for me. I find that there are easy trends that we can get attached to and want to do because we think that this is what's going to make it happen, going to make our business pop, going to make whatever that we want out there to be seen. I am very in a space, I'm in a space of being unique. I love being unique and I feel like there's a weird space in social media that a lot of things just start to overlap on each other. Once I start seeing this, like the overlapping of trends, it actually creates this weird anxiety inside of me that, oh, I either need to do that or I need to keep up. And I don't like that. So last week when I was listening to Mel Robbins, and I feel like I'm going around in a circle here, sorry, I have so much to say. But the podcast was called How to Find Your Purpose and Design the Life You Want. Now, I've been designing the life that I want for a very long time. And I'm very proud of where I've come and how far I've come with my business from God, from like just literally going to school for like journalism and working in film and doing all the cool things that I got to do in film as like doing production and all that stuff and going into tech and learning all about that stuff, finding my way in personal training and landing on my 2 feet into a place that I know that I'm supposed to be, and that is as a holistic nutritionist. And I love how like my world, everything just comes together with everything that I've learned throughout the years. But when I came into this episode, I believe and I know that the reason that I connected to it so much is because I'm like tripping over my words right now. The reason why I know that I connected to it so much is because within my journey, I know that I've had a lot of moments where I felt stuck. I had so many moments where I felt stuck, and I had moments where I just felt like okay, this is it. And in this podcast, she's talking to Martha Beck. Shout out to Martha Beck because I've been taking in what she said in this podcast and I've been taking it to heart. And I really, 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 really wish that I really want to meet her in person as well because I see what it is that Mel Robbins like sees in her of everything that she's done in her life and how fantastic she is of just living her true self. And she's like, this woman's amazing. I'm going to pick up her book as well. But these two ladies literally spoke to my soul last week, and that allowed me to kind of just like take a step back and say to myself, stop fighting stop fighting a fight that is not yours. And I find that we tend to fight other people's fight, and we don't need to fight anymore. So I've come into this space of taking myself away from things that I don't need anymore. And it's not to say that like I don't need social media. I don't. I like it because it's another way to connect with people, which is really great. I don't care to be on Instagram the way that I used to be on Instagram. I don't care to show up the way that I used to show up. And this is me saying that right now. This might change in a few months or a few years just based on my own personal growth. But I think right now it's better for me just to remove myself because one, I care about my mental health way more than likes. And I personally feel that I thrive a lot more offline to find my creative space. I'm back to writing again, which I am thrilled about because writing was something that got me out of a lot of things in terms of how I was feeling and allowed my creativity to flow outwards, and I can see everything just like coming together. And then I also started speaking again, and this is why we're here on these Saturday chats just having a good time. And it's not to say that these conversations are always going to be like this. They're going to be conversations where I'm here to educate you guys. I'm here to give you guys some different points and different ways to look at your nutrition, different ways to look at your relationship with food, different ways to look at your relationship with yourself. But within all of this, this is who I am. And I love seeing this side of me, and I love just nurturing this side because it's like my childhood persona that's kind of coming out because this is what I used to do when I was a kid. And I was just very deep into this without the camera. I would literally talk to an imaginative audience, and that was, when I look back, I'm like, that was weird, but also fun in a way because I was just using my imagination. So me being here talking to you, it's not me just talking to a camera, but it's me talking to an audience and hoping that this reaches the right person. And if this resonates with you, I'm so thrilled that it resonates with you because sometimes when you are feeling stuck or you're feeling like you don't know where you're supposed to be, there's someone out there that resonates, but you just have to be that voice. And today I am being that voice. So, yeah. But within all of that, the last blog that I put out, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, called Every Day is a Victory, I kind of pointed out different things from like emotional wins, spiritual wins, physical wins, and mental wins. Those are 4 key pointers. And I believe that like when you sit down and you kind of reflect on each of them, you start to see a difference within yourself. So my goal for myself is to reflect every month this year on those 4 things. What's happening emotionally? What type of wins did you have this month that you felt that made you take a step forward? What about your physical wins? Are there anything that you wish you could have changed, or were there things that you continued into the new month and you saw yourself growing within that and thriving? Your spiritual wins. How are you spiritually? Are you getting closer to God? Are you getting closer to yourself? Are you getting closer to just discovering what it is that you believe in? And that one has been such a big one for me, and I'm very happy about it because there's nothing that I can do without God, and there's nothing or no one, actually, sorry, there's nothing that I can do without God, because my success comes from Him and through Him, and that's all that matters for me. So every single day that I wake up, I'm one, grateful to see another day, because tomorrow's not promised, and I'm living more in that because of the fact that I can say, well, tomorrow I'll do it, but I might not be here tomorrow, so why not do it today? And I was having that issue with filming this. I kept on saying, well, like, I can wait it out, I can wait it out. But then I'm like, wait, but I promised myself that every Saturday, this is what we're doing. We're having our Saturday chats. So as much as this is for you, this is also for me. And the last one is mental wins. How are you doing mentally? Are you catching your negative self-talk? How are you combating that? How are you navigating yourself through the self-doubt, through the negativity and the pessimism? And how can you flip that to make that optimistic? So one book that I've been reading is The Power of Now, and that has been helping me so much. I did start that book last year and I took a pause because that's one book that you kind of have to read and like take moments to actually understand what it is that you're reading. So every Sunday I go to the sauna for about an hour, and I'm not sitting in the sauna for an hour, you guys. I do like 20 minutes in, 5 minutes out, back and forth. But the one thing that I always make sure that I have is The Power of Now, and that book has been changing the way that I think tremendously, and getting myself to be back into my present self and not thinking too much in the future and too much in the past, because that is where anxiety is built. And I've also been looking at the way that I word things as well, in terms of, for example, instead of me saying my anxiety, this is actually from Mel Robbins. Shout out to her again. But in terms of saying my anxiety, I don't say my anxiety, because that makes me, it's like a title that I put over myself, saying that this is what I have and there's nothing that I can do to change this. But instead of standing in that present moment and being like, okay, how am I feeling? Right now, I feel anxious. This anxious feeling is coming from, and I'm able to point out where it is that it's coming from so I can understand how I can move forward from it. So I know this conversation has taken us all over the place, but that's kind of where my mind has been at. And originally, again, this conversation was supposed to be something totally different, but I'm happy that I took a beater and I said, you know what, we can hold off on that conversation and we'll come back with that next week, and just stay true with what's actually happening here and what it is that we need to get off our chest and off our mind to actually see where it is that we want to be. So if you have resonated with anything that I have said today, subscribe, send this to a friend as well, but also sit down and reflect with yourself. Take in those 4 things. What were your mental wins? What were your physical wins? What were your spiritual wins? And what were your emotional wins for this month? And kind of see where you're at. And then do it again the next. I hope you guys tune back in next week for our Saturday chats. I will see you guys then. Have a great day.